Jamshedpur have won the Hero ISL. Hyderabad are the Hero Indian Super League champions.
Well, a good day to all Hero ISL fans. My name is Suyash and I am so glad to be outside that little box in which you normally see me, and quite literally I've had to spread my wings and take a flight from New Delhi to Mumbai, where I now find myself in the gorgeous environs of this Mumbai City FC team hotel. It's the den of the Islanders, and joining us today is a very, very charming personality who we have inside access to shoot with. We'll stay on the topic of charming personalities because I'm also joined by Mr. Paul Masefield.
I thought you were on about me.
I was, Mace, I was. We're meeting actually for the first time since the bubble last season. Are you happy to see me, Mace?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's been a while, hasn't it? Having our dinner and our breakfasts over there in the Resort Rio, and now back to normality.
Likewise, likewise. Right. So about today's guest, Mace, right? He's someone who perception says that is a very cool, calm and collected individual. And I can say that after having spent about 15 minutes with him before the shoot started, the perception is true. But why don't we talk a bit more about his achievements, Mace?
Well, it's unbelievable what he's done. You know, you turn around and you have a look at the under-20s for New Zealand, the under-23s, taking them to the Olympic Games, winning the Pan gold medal as well, winning the league down in Australia. Not only that, coaching Auckland, Melbourne City, and of course, you know, guided his team to the top of the table, only just to slightly be overturned in their week off. So they will be able to go back to the top of the table the next time they play. But it's an amazing career, really, for a 37-year-old, if you consider it and put it in those terms. And I think we need to know a little bit more about the man.
Yeah, I mean, his teams tell us a lot about him because they play some liquid football. And if you're a neutral, you really enjoy watching that. If you're not a neutral, if you're in opposition, then I'm not too sure about that. But we have with us today Mr. Des Buckingham. Des, so glad you could join us here today.
Thank you for coming.
On this fine day in Mumbai. Yeah, let's get the greetings right in. But lovely. Okay, so Des, what version of you is joining us today? Is it the stoic Mumbai City FC manager? Is it the Englishman with a slight affinity and bent for New Zealand? Or is it the fun guy we see off screen and, you know, off the football pitch? What version of you are you giving us today?
The only version I hope there is of me, which is just me, regardless whether it's on the football pitch or it's in the environment here.
We wouldn't like it. We wouldn't like it any other way. We wouldn't like it any other way. But let's talk about Mumbai a little bit, Des, because you're out of the bubble now, and this city represents a lot of things, a lot of emotion attached with the city. Have you had a chance to get out and about so far and see the city that you represent?
Not as much as some of the players seem to have. I said we're here in the hotel and we're very well looked after here. It's a wonderful space to be able to work. But I've only probably ventured out 3 or 4 times since the 2 or 3 months we've been here, just because we're trying to plan and get ready for the next game mostly. Yeah. But I do plan to get out a little bit more.
Have you had a chance to have the famous cutting chai and vada pav that Mumbai is synonymous with?
Yes, I have. Yes.
What's the review like?
Very good. Anthony Fernandez, our assistant coach, introduced us to it. Firstly, back in Goa when we had it in our bubble for some of the events we have there. Yeah. And then certainly here, it's on the menu every day.
Note to the media manager to get us some vada pav after this.
Well, we better get that sorted.
Yeah, I hope you're listening. Right. Okay. Amazing. So
no, it's unbelievable. But what I'd like to know is, particularly at your age, 37 years old, it's very young to be a head coach. We've rattled off all those achievements that you've so far managed to do in your career. How do you assess so far your pathway in coaching, and how did you get into it?
Yeah, it's a pathway that started 21 years ago now. So although I'm only 37, I've been coaching 21 years, and of those 21, 15 have been full-time and 10 have been in professional environments, and I've been very fortunate to work with and under some wonderful head coaches and support staff, and that's only continued through here. I've done as much as I can to upskill myself and put myself in the best position I can, that should I get opportunities to progress my career, that I can put the best version of myself across for firstly the team and then for me. And that's brought some really good results and success so far. So there's a long way to go. There's a lot more I need to learn, and there's a lot more I want to do in the game, but the most important thing is at the moment I do that here in Mumbai, and I'm very happy with where we are and where we sit right now.
Yeah. Would you call yourself a workaholic, Des? What part or what percentage of your life is occupied by football? Because you do a lot of stuff outside of it as well. But do you call yourself a workaholic?
I wouldn't say so. Okay. No, I think it's important. I've got Hiroshi Miyazawa, a Japanese guy on our staff, and we've worked together for 4 or 5 years now, and I think the first year that we worked together, Hiroshi speaks a lot around work-life balance.
Right.
It was the first time I'd ever heard anyone really talk about that in football. There is a large part of my day that is taken up with football, of course. But what I have found is you do need other things, or I do specifically.
Yeah.
I need other things at times to turn my attention and turn my brain off from football.
Yeah.
That really helps then when we do focus back in on the work that you need to do.
So let's talk about it a little bit, because you are a qualified ski instructor, if I'm not mistaken, and also a qualified pilot. So what stage of your life were you exactly in when you decided to take up these very two polar opposite activities? Like, how did it happen?
Yeah. The ski instructor was when I was back in Oxford. So again, I was carrying 4 jobs at Oxford United, all the way through to the first team. And I had an old school teacher that was going across to do his ski instructing course, and it was a guy that I'd spent 10 years with, and took us on school trips and such. And I got to know very well him and his family, so I decided to jump on with him because I thought it would be something that was totally different and outside of my comfort zone. So I went and done that. The pilot was very different. I was in Wellington, I was head coach in Wellington in the A-League, and I live 5 minutes from the airport. And for my 30th birthday, so only 7 years ago, I was bought a trial flight, so you could fly one of the smaller planes for 40 minutes. And while I was up there, it was something that really, real interest in me sparked up as to, this is something that I think maybe if I wasn't doing football, I potentially could have gone down as a career path. And the guy that sold me the idea of going through my licence made it sound so simple. But it took 3.5 years. It took over 100 flying hours, 6 different theory exams on things that I knew nothing about. There's no relation to sport. But what it did do is it allowed me to focus in on something totally different with a new way of working that I think has helped enhance my football as well.
You talk about that and about the balance in life, which you did there. It's very difficult when you're at your age, and I'm stressing this, Des, but how is it when you're coaching older players than yourself? You've been involved in the game now 16 years. You were very young when you got in there. How did you manage that personally? Because that can't have been easy, because everybody's now catching you up and you're now getting to that age where you've got that experience. But how is it having to manage a dressing room with older players in than yourself?
I think I go back, I've always tried to upskill myself. I know being a young coach, I'm coming to the other end of that now where it is tipping, where I'm now older than most, if not all of the people I coach, but that's not been the case up until this point. So I think first it was to try and get as much exposure and experience as I possibly could, and I go back to the people that I've been so fortunate to work with, both in England, in New Zealand, in Australia and elsewhere, that have helped me really upskill quickly. You go through all of your qualifications, of course, to do that. And then I've also gone away and done master's degrees in coaching to try and make sure that, from a knowledge point of view, I know as much as I can. You can never know too much. And then the biggest thing I found has been how you work with the people that you work with, because you can know as much as you like, but if you can't relate and work to the people, whether they're 18 or they're 37, it doesn't matter, because they don't care what you know unless they know you care.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's about utilising the skill set of the people around you. Not everything has to come from me, whether I'm 20, 21 or 37 as it is now. But if you surround yourself with good people who are good at what they do, and you build a framework that allows them to really showcase themselves, and that includes players, not just staff, you get such greater coverage of knowledge and skill set that takes groups far further than one person ever could.
Yeah, just to follow up with that, Des, is there a comfort that comes with growing older as a manager, in the sense that you feel that just by virtue of being that much older, players respect you a little bit more? Have you ever felt that?
I'd say so. I think if you were to chuck 21 years worth of experience onto me now as a 37-year-old, I've become 58, and I think age does give you experience in life. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is in life. But 21 years now in the game, working across what was initially academy football and youth development, but the last 10 years in the senior space, combining that with the experiences I've had, the qualifications, and then the working relationships, and then the opportunities that I've been exposed to, I'd like to think I'm a far more rounded coach than I would ever have been if I hadn't gone through that journey.
So how do you implement that in this Mumbai team to keep everybody so happy and harmonious? Because it looks like you've got a fantastic bunch there. So it is this full team ethic and work ethic that you put into every single, player, staff, everybody.
I put something up on social media yesterday, and I put people, culture and environment are all vitally important now in what we do. You go back to football specific, you can talk football all day, People know now more than they ever have done. Kids, because of the game. You see the World Cup last night, the stats and how the game's evolved. They've got computer games. They'll tell you how the game can be played. So it's been spending time managing the group, but we've recruited good people as well, not just good players. And then it's about managing them and making sure that we're all very clear on where we want to go and how they fit within that.
So how do you keep that fine balance, particularly with the foreign players, because everybody just wants to play?
There's a lot of time. You know, people only see what happens on game day, of course, on the TV, but we're living together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And when I say we spend a lot of time one-on-one with each player, explaining decisions. You know, sometimes players, see if they're playing, they generally don't want to know why they're playing. But if they're not playing, we often give them the reasons as to why they're not playing and what we need more from them or what that reason is, because otherwise they come to the conclusion themselves, which most of the time is wrong. But then it's about making sure that we've got very clear ways on how we're going to get them playing, because we've already seen so far the team that starts, you know, whether they start well or they don't, the team that finishes is as important as the ones that don't. And the team that go on to be successful this year, and any team that I've worked in high performance, it's never just about the 11. It's about the squad and it's about the group, and again, it's about them recognising how we can all do what we want to do.
You know, Des, your team finished quite high up in the AFC Champions League group stages, so let's talk a bit about that. In terms of when you reached Saudi Arabia, from the kind of vibe you got from other teams and other managers, how did you see that change through the course of the entire league stage? Did you feel that you were shown a lot more respect from the start of the first game, say, till the last game was played? How did others kind of perceive you, and how did that make you feel?
It's difficult to answer because we were almost in the bio bubble. But I can only draw on my experiences prior to that of when I coached the New Zealand teams. And when New Zealand teams often went to the World Cup, we're often seen as underdogs and teams that may not achieve what other teams there could achieve. And that wasn't the feeling we ever had in New Zealand. We felt that the players that we had, how we structured things, the environment we'd created that would allow the players to go and showcase themselves in a real positive and supportive environment. We could get results and we would get results. And it was the same approach we took going into the Champions League. We knew there'd only been one team go before us and they'd done well in FC Goa. But we wanted to go and do something that no other team had done before, which was win a game. And we felt that if we could prepare the players in a certain way, we could support them and we could then put a framework around them to go and showcase the type of football that Indian players firstly could do, supported by some very good foreign players. That was our approach and we took it. I didn't want to go to an AFC competition, Champions League, and try not to lose games. That's not in my makeup and it's certainly not in the club's makeup here. We want to go and try and win games, whether that's in the ISL or it's the Champions League. So I'd like to think the perception certainly changed after the first performance, but certainly after we picked up that first win. And then certainly at the end when we finished second in the group and finished on 7 points was a huge achievement for everybody.
Where do you rank that in terms of the things you've achieved in your career, finishing second in the group with Mumbai City FC?
It's certainly up there. It is certainly up there. It's, you know, for us to go to the highest level of club competition in football and to... The pleasing thing for me was we went there and played football. We went there and played, and that sounds silly to say, but we didn't go back and we didn't sit and defend and try and steal a result, I suppose, whether it be a draw or a win. We went there to play a certain brand of football, which is what we're doing now in the ISL. We had to be a bit smarter and clever about how we did that because of the quality of the opposition. But that for me was the pleasing thing, was how we went about getting those results and how we went about those performances. And I think that's brought a lot of confidence back into the group, and I think it's certainly helping us now and hopefully helps teams in the future.
No, it definitely has. There's no question about that. But how have you done that with the Indian boys? How have you found their development, particularly over your tenure and particularly this season, where it's your team that you've managed to galvanise and bring together and are doing so well? So what are the key elements for you with the local Indian boys and how they've performed so far this season?
The first thing for me when I arrived into the country, and the same as this is now the fourth different country that I've coached within, I think you have to take time to understand the landscape and the culture, both of football and the people. And the one thing that certainly struck me when I first arrived was how receptive and quick and keen to learn the Indian players are in particular, not just young players, senior players as well. And when you've got a group of players that are so open and receptive to that, even though the team had been successful in terms of winning the double the year before, that's a real good starting point and a recipe for some further success. So we've worked consistently. That all of the players here have got development plans, so they're all very clear on what it is we're looking for them as individuals. They've all got player profiles, which they're very clear on when they play within the team, what they're expected to do within the positions that they play. And then we've got several ways now about how we play in possession, how we play out of possession, which we're hopefully starting to see a lot more consistency and understanding of.
Yeah. Des, was that tough for you? You've just mentioned there about that double winning season before you joined. Was it tough for you to try and follow that in the initial first season?
I think normally when you take over or you come in following a head coach, it's often because the club haven't performed or maybe the results haven't gone that way. So to come in and follow success can be difficult. But we have to be realistic. We come in and we'd lost 5 of the starting 11 players from that double winning season that had moved on, and they were senior players and very experienced players. So there was going to be some time of almost a rebuild to do that. And of course then the league took off a foreign quota as well. So the foreign from 5 went to 4. So it was about coming in, firstly understanding what had the team done to try and achieve that success the year before, because we didn't want to throw that all out and start again. It's like when you clean a house, you take all the stuff out, but you bring back in the stuff you want afterwards. So that was important to recognise that. And then it was about taking time to really delve into, we've got a way that we want to play, a city football way of playing, which is what we want to brand as the Mumbai brand. Yeah. And that takes time. Learning takes time. And I think towards the end of the season, certainly the Champions League, it took 6 months. But it's something now where we've involved the players in the learning process. They now, because they've been involved in it, they understand it. And because they understand it, they don't have to be continually reminded of what that looks like. So now it's about refinement and adding detail rather than reapproaching every game differently.
Yeah. A couple of questions, Des. Talk to us a bit more about Mumbai now, right? The city. I know you said you haven't had a chance to go around a lot, but from what you've seen so far, what are the things about Mumbai that you really like and enjoy about being here?
The traffic and the time we've
you
spent
like
in
it?
Do me a favour. Come on, do me a favour.
We spend a lot of time in the car getting into and from train.
A lot of time for reflection in the traffic,
A lot of time for
getting
reflection.
your thoughts together.
I've really enjoyed it so far. I think we spent 12 months obviously outside of Mumbai. So I've worked for a year for the club and only actually been here now for 2 or 3 months. But we've been so well looked after, so well received firstly in the hotel, and then to be able to get around the city. Even when we go out and we have food or we go and have some time having a look around, you do get people come and speak to you in the streets, and it's football culture. It's the same as in Australia and New Zealand. People want to come and talk to you about the game, and that's something that I really enjoyed.
We saw you took the metro to the stadium the other day. How was that ride?
I take the metro to every press conference now because it's quicker to get there.
Oh, wow.
So we talked about, I wanted to come here and experience different cultures and different ways of living and working. That was a real attraction to coming to India. And we started off by saying, because we're spending so much time in the car, can we find a different way? And the metro was presented, I think, initially as an option. They didn't expect me to say, yes, let's go. And we did. We went the first time, but we've gone every time since because of it. And it's, for me, a far more convenient way for us to get to where we need to.
Is that superstition, though? Because you know what these coaches are like.
I'll take the quickest way anywhere here. So if it's the metro, it's the metro. If it's going to be the normal trains, I'll take the trains.
Who's the player, the local Mumbai player in the squad who's kind of at the forefront of guiding you? So, coach, this is that,
It depends what they're guiding you to.
What have you been guided to so far? I'm curious to know now.
Look, I ask the players when we have time off. We've just had a 5-day break, and we have, obviously today is a day off for us as well. When I ask the players, what did you do? What did you get up to? They're very short in their answers. They don't tend to tell you too much where they've been and what they've done. And
they know what to say to the coach.
They know what to say, which is very.
That's never tell the coach the truth.
But we've got a lot. The young players, young Vikram. I have very good conversations with him, and then all the way through to Raul Beques. Raul, obviously being from around this area, is very good in pointing us in the right directions.
What did you do in that downtime, Des? Because obviously, as the head coach, all the pressure, all the stress is heaped on your shoulders because everybody points the finger at you as the man in charge. How did you relax during that time? Or were you work like a workaholic? Were you watching all the matches? What did you do?
I got on a plane, I found a beach, and I lied on it for 3 or 4 days.
Boom, job done.
I had my phone on me, so I had the ISL being shown, so I watched the games even though we're overseas. But it is important to switch off. I spoke to a lot of people in high performance sport, and especially teams that are involved in kind of bubbles to an extent like this. And you almost call it a rejuvenation break. And we've certainly seen it after the ISL last year going into the Champions League. We see it after the Rank Cup coming into the ISL. those 3 or 4 day breaks, if they're done right, and people spending time with friends, with family, can actually reset and come back. They don't forget what we've been doing on the football field. Their fitness doesn't get affected, but that just rejuvenation, with us, especially with this break coming halfway through the season for us after round 9, it's come at a very good time for us. So hopefully now that's reflected in the performance against East Bengal and allows us to finish the season as strong as we can.
Right. Okay. Now, 9 games done in the season, almost halfway through the league stages, you're still undefeated. Surely there's some murmurs within the players about potentially going unbeaten throughout the league stage. Is that something you happen to encounter? And don't tell us what you tell the players. Tell us what they're actually saying, Des.
I think there's a lot of murmurs amongst you guys with that. It's
Oh, there
not-
would be, for good
not-
reason.
Sorry, Mace asked me after the game in the last one.
I've already done that one.
It spilled in-
think alike.
it spilled into the press conference afterwards. But no, I think it's important. We haven't played every team in the league yet. We've still got East Bengal to tick off in terms of that's the last team to finish off our full cycle. But what it has done is it's given us the opportunity to see what every team can do. Because again, especially at the start of the season, you're not sure what team is going to finish where or what that's going to look like. But we've now shown that not only can we compete against each of those teams, but we feel we have a good chance to pick up results, but more so the performances. And I keep going back to this, as long as we consistently perform to the levels that we try to, the results don't always go your way. So to talk about an unbeaten season would, for me at this stage, be very naive, and you'd almost be setting yourself up to walk into a very stupid trap. And it is, because you can play we've seen it at the World Cup. You can play as well as you want, have all the possession, all the passes, but you can have one thing go against you, and that can cause you the result. So all we keep saying to the players, and I've said it to them every round, we focus on our performance, on the internal measures that we have, and then making sure that we try to get better game by game. And if we do that, we'll put ourselves in the best position to get a result each game. But for me, the next game is East Bengal, and that's as far forward as I've certainly looked, and as far forward as this group has looked.
Spoken like a manager. Spoken like a manager. Well, okay, Des. So, what is the guiding light or the guiding force in your life? Are there any inspirations that you have and people you look up to through your formative years, or something that you still follow in terms of philosophy? What are those anchors in your life?
There's a lot of people I look to now. I spoke to somebody yesterday, a guy called Christian Penny, High Performance Sport New Zealand, and we spoke about having a bit of a brains trust. And what we meant by that was people that in these times, whether you think you're playing well or whether you think you're coaching very well, most of the time people generally tend to reach out when things aren't going well. It's not the case. I think you surround yourself with good people who you can lean on and ask for support regardless of whether things are going well or they're not. And I've certainly got a lot of those in my life, Christian being one. Ernie Merrick is another person in Australia who's another one of those people. I've had excellent mentors in people like Chris Wilder back in the UK, Les Taylor at Oxford United, Mickey Lewis, who was the reason I got involved in coaching back in England to start with. And there's many more that I'm going to miss here and won't do justice of. So I think it's important that you surround yourself with good people and you have that brains trust, and you pick that brains trust regardless of outcome, of result or performance, if you want to keep getting better.
Yeah. Mace is my brains trust. Right here. Right there. All right. Yeah. And in terms of managing in India, what is the one thing that you really enjoy about managing in India? Not just Mumbai, getting to see the country now, traveling. What have you picked up so far in your time?
Probably just being back in front of fans and the amount of support that there is here. It's, I've coached now in England, I've coached in New Zealand, in Australia, and here. And there's a lot of similarities between here and New Zealand in terms of we know that football isn't a number one sport. Right. But it's not far behind. And in New Zealand, rugby is obviously that, but football is very well supported. And here, it's the amount of following and engagement. And you go to the stadium we were in, obviously, we've played a couple of away games. And to play in front of, for players to play in front of 20, 30, 40,000 people, you don't get that in a lot of places in Europe right now. So to get that here, it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah. Is the potential there, Des, for India to succeed in the future? Because, I mean, you're working with the Indian players day in, day out, you're part of the league, you know the players. Is the potential there to be able to drive Indian football onwards and upwards?
I think so, yes. I think we've started to see relative success at that, obviously at club level recently, and I can only speak to the Champions League. But again, as I go back, this is the 4th country I've worked in. The level of player isn't hugely different. I think what's very important is that to be successful, especially if we're talking about progressing World Cups, it's that there is a very clear way on what that looks like. How do those teams play? Because the clubs and the coaches are certainly so keen to support the progression of the Indian national team, the players to achieve success, because it's win-win for everybody. If the national team's successful, the clubs can be further successful, and the players hopefully have greater pathways to other things as well.
Possibility to come back and one day coach the Indian national team towards the latter stages of your career?
I think they've got a good coach in Igor Stimac.
No. I'm not saying now. Igor's okay. Don't worry about that.
No, I've got my time here right now. I keep talking about you have to do a good job in the job you're in.
Yep.
You know, football can be very cruel at times, and you can find yourself either not playing if you're a player or out of work if you're a coach, and results don't go your way so often. So as long as I can keep trying to be as successful as I can and do as well as I can in the jobs I can, I think you're afforded opportunities, hopefully then because of that.
Yep.
I want to coach at the highest level. Right now that is here, and I'm doing my utmost and my best to try and make sure we're as successful as we can be. I don't know where that will take me in the future. If that's back here in India, it's certainly a place that I'd have no problem returning to in the future, the same way I'd have no problem returning both to New Zealand and to Australia.
Brilliant.
Yes, you heard those chants at the Mumbai Football Arena in the last home game, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, the fans were swearing.
I'm sure that wasn't the case. No, but they said, we want you to stay. And I'm sure you heard those. How did that come about? Because I haven't heard any murmurs or rumors so far, but clearly the fans have taken to you. So a word of appreciation for them?
Yeah, I did hear it.
Yeah.
I know there's always rumours around as to why that might have happened. I can't speak to that because I don't know.
Sure.
But the fans with me have been wonderful. You know, same as the players, and I think if we can keep showcasing the type of football that we're doing, and of course results help when you're winning games, you know, fans will always support. But more so here, I think people want to come to the stadium and be entertained, and I think with the football that we're trying to play, we're certainly trying to entertain as well as pick up results.
I think it's not just that with the club, just one thing, sorry Suyash. Sure. It's not just that with the club about the playing side. When you go to the Mumbai Football Arena, there's an absolute fantastic atmosphere with live bands, and there's food, and there's all these things. Is that all something to help to draw and attract even more fans to come in and watch the matches?
When you come to the arena, it's because of for me, I've only been to a couple of the stadiums now. Obviously last year was in Goa, and now we've had a couple of away trips. The difference for us, we know we haven't got the biggest stadium. We know we don't have the biggest following yet. But when you come to the Mumbai Football Arena, the closeness of the fans to the pitch, because of the tightness of the stadium, because of the atmosphere that can be created within that, for me it's a different experience. It's a special experience. You know, every other team will have their own uniqueness, and for us that's ours. We are a little bit smaller right now, but that spills onto the pitch, you know, and you feel it. The players feel it, and the staff, we feel it, and I think that's replicated back to the fans from the field.
I think I'm daft, by the way, because he arrives on the coach and goes straight to the dugout. We can walk up this alley, and it's absolutely magnificent what the club are trying to do to get that engagement and to get the fans to come out and support the club. So you're not going to experience that.
I'll have to come with you next one. I'll come off the bus and come with you.
Right, so time for a little game called Who Am I with Des Buckingham. Now, Des, what we're going to do is, this is essentially a quiz about your own players. We're going to give you 3 tries to guess the name of the player. We have 3 statements lined up. The objective is, of course, to guess as soon as possible within the first statement. So you ready for this?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, I will go first. Right, number 1. I was picked up by an ISL club during the player draft ahead of the 2017-18 season, and I've played in the past under the current technical director of the defending ISL champions. No, you can't peek.
I can't see anyway.
I know.
I'm glad.
No.
You want another one?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I have 1 I-League goal to my name, but I have 20 goals and 11 assists in the ISL.
Say again.
I have 1 I-League goal to my
Yes.
name, but I have 20 goals and 11 assists in the ISL. Oh, come on, Des. And now he's looking over for
It's
no
got to be
clues.
Bipin or Chante.
But is it Bipin or Changte?
I'm going to say Bipin.
Okay. So on the second try then. Well done, well done, well done. All right.
Congratulations.
Let's
right,
go.
well, it's my go now. Okay, I have won the Copa Sudamericana with Lanús. There is a bit more, but do you need me to go on?
Greg Stewart?
No. Copa Sudamericana with Lanús, helping the Argentinian club to become champions of the competition for the first time in 2013.
Diaz.
Of course it's Diaz. Okay, so that's like 2 attempts so far, Des. We're
Yes.
waiting for you to get it on the first try. So we have 4 more names.
That was the first try.
Oh, was that the first try?
Yeah, that was
Diaz?
that was the
all right.
first
Okay,
try.
okay. All right. Fair enough.
It's a little bit aggressive there, aren't you?
I was speaking to the fourth official. That was a foul.
All right. Yeah, my bad. I should have followed that closely. All right. Number 3.
Yes.
I was 16 years of age when I was cut from the youth program of the club I was a part of, who said that I was too small for them. That's it.
That's all you're giving me?
That's what
Too
I'm giving
small.
you. Yeah. He was 16 when he was cut from the youth program. I'm sure you've gotten to know your players well, spoken to them about their life
Cut from his club at 16.
at 16.
It's got to be European, because they're ruthless. I want to say Greg.
Oh, that's a good one. So that's first attempt. Well done.
Yes,
There we go.
Well done.
Spot on.
I'll just give you the other 2 for Greg, just as a trivia.
Go
He
for
was the age of 25 in when he signed his first professional contract. So he hadn't signed a professional contract before he was 25, and his former teammate actually recently narrated an incident where they nearly came to blows last season in the dressing room. But then that spurred him on to sort of, lift the title at the end of the season. Do you know who the teammate was?
I guess Peter Hartley, maybe?
Ah, yes. That's a good guess. That's a safe bet. Yeah, that's a safe bet.
No comment.
All right, let's go on to the next one.
Right. I have scored for India against North Korea before.
North Korea.
We've had Bipin already, so it has to be Chante.
Oh, man. I thought this would have been tougher.
I told you the questions were too easy.
No, to be fair, the first one was a
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
bit of a tricky one.
Spot on.
All right, okay. Let's move on to the next one.
Spot on.
Yes, absolutely. Well done, Des. You've been getting to know your players quite well. Huh?
Yeah, see, that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 14 months.
Well done. Okay, number 5. I spent a brief amount of time at Jamshedpur's Tata Football Academy before signing my first pro contract with Shillong Lajong FC.
No.
No? Another one?
Yeah.
Okay. I've played in the past for an Indian club also known as the Snow Leopards, alongside current Bengaluru FC player Danish Farouk.
This is the toughest one, I think.
Not really.
No.
So Desmond. Statement
Desmond
number
that
3.
way, yeah.
All right. Okay. I come from a town in Sikkim called Lachin, which is why my name may bear resemblance to that fact. Oh, come on, Des.
I want to say Apuria. It's Apuria, yeah? No.
I'll go again. Because I'm sure you're going to get it on this attempt,
Go on.
okay? I come from a town in Sikkim called Lachin, which is
Fuba.
why my name may bear resemblance to that fact.
Fuba.
Yeah, good luck facing him.
Okay.
Good luck facing him.
Yeah.
Purba, you heard that.
Yeah.
You heard that. All right, do we have another one?
Don't tell us Puya. Right. I think this is the last. Is this the last one?
It is.
I think this is the last one.
It is.
I can actually put one of the questions myself, which would be a dead giveaway, but
Go for
we'll
it.
try with the first one. I was sent off for a straight red card on my debut for the club. I didn't write this.
They know behind the cameras. They already know who we're talking about.
Don't give it away. Because he's trying to
Nah.
Sent off.
sent off. Straight red card on my debut for the club.
Jahal.
Woof. Spot on.
Is it Jahal?
It is.
Yeah.
Is that surprising?
Yes.
No.
Might not be.
Sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's not.
I've seen him for 5 years, so I know.
Well, lovely. All right, Des, it's been a riot, here at your team hotel, and we thank you for joining us here today on the Let's Football Live show. The first time we've actually gone on site and recorded, and it's been everything we expected it to be. Just ahead of your next game now, what is the mentality of the team like? How are you shaping up for that game? Because it's an away trip, and it's a tricky one.
It is. We've had that 5-day break. Players have reported back really fresh, rejuvenated. We've got 6 sessions, so 6 training sessions before we play that game.
Yeah.
We've had 2 of those already, and they've reported back very sharp. So now it's about making sure that we watched East Bengal last night. We watched their final game before we played them, and now we've got the next 4 or 5 days to make sure we prepare this team as well as we can, and the players are as prepared as they can be, the same way we have for the first 9, to make sure we approach the 10th as well as we can.
Well, that's lovely. Now, I've already asked you the question, Des, about potentially going unbeaten throughout the league stage. Maybe give it 3 or 4 more games, and that'll come out again, Des. I'm pretty sure that's not the last time you're going to be asked that question. So best of luck dealing with that. But all the best to the rest of the team and for you for the rest of the season. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Let's Football Live show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming over.
It's great to get an insight behind the man.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've done that so far this season. So thanks for your time. It's been brilliant, Des.
No, pleasure. Thanks for coming up.
Well, that's it from us from the Mumbai City FC team hotel with Des Buckingham. Until next time, we'll see you with another Let's Football Live show. Take care, ladies and gentlemen.
And Jamshedpur have won the Hero ISL.